Introduction. Since the end of Cold War, universal authorities have failed to keep pace with the economic globalization, which is why extraordinary ingenuousness in finance, communication, trade and travel has created happiness and pecuniary development. It has also given rise to many prospects for felons to flourish their business. Systemized crime has differentiated, gone universal and stretched macroeconomic magnitudes. Illegal merchandise are obtained from one continent, trafficked to another, and promoted and sold in the third. Gangs today are transcontinental problems, a danger to safety, particularly in poor and conflict-canted nations. Corruption is stimulating exploitation, penetrating trade and politics, and hampering the growth of the country. And it is discouraging authority by vesting all who function outside the decree. Human trafficking, drug cartels, counterfeit products, cybercrime, firearms, smuggling migrants and environmental resources are the main areas where crime is flourishing, and there is nothing that seems to be able to put a stop on them. Chapter 1. Factors that lead to rise in criminal activities in a country. There could be different ways of defining criminal activities, and different societies might have a different view on what activities come under crime. In common language, a crime is an illicit action punishable by the authorities or by the state. One of the most accepted views is that crime is a category made by law, or it could be said that a deed is a crime if declared so by a valid and pertinent law. Another way of defining crime is a misdemeanor doing which harms not only an individual, but it is also bad for the society, community, or state. These deeds are illegal and are punishable by law. The government controls the rights to sternly confine an individual's freedom for committing a crime. There are procedures in the present societies to which inquiries and hearings must abide by. If any offender is found guilty, he or she might be sentenced to some form of punishment or compensation according to the nature of their crime. Although every crime violates the law, all acts cannot be considered as violation of law. They could be breaches of private law, and the state doesn't hold the right to punish them. However, they can be imposed in a civil procedure. Reasons for committing a crime could be many. Governments of all countries have conducted many studies so they can get a better understanding of why people take to committing such harsh activities, so they can bring down the rising rate of criminal offence and have peace in their respective nations. Before discussing the countries that have high criminal activities, here is a list of reasons why crime happens. Broken families. There are several scholarly evidences which propose that one of the leading causes of exploding crime is the incapability of parents to responsibly bring up their children. When love and proper guidance are absent at sensitive points of marriage and family have a big impact on the social magnitudes of kinds and the community as a whole. Experiential evidence show that young women and men from wrecked families have a weak connection with their neighborhood and are susceptible to exploit the people to satiate their requirements or demands. This adds to their sense of community and to the breakdown of neighborhood into social pandemonium and violence. Miscarriage of justice. When an individual is convicted or punished by the law for crime they haven't committed, it is known as miscarriage of justice. This term is also applicable to civil cases or errors of impunity. An example could be situations when dangerous criminals escape from the clutches of the police. Although most criminal justice systems have laws to overturn an affair sentence, it is quite difficult to attain or change this conviction. Some occasions a wrong sentence has not been quashed for many years, or the innocent person has died while in prison or been executed. Prisons are a harsh place and can turn any innocent man into a violent one. For those who are violent can become ferocious because they tend to stay with people who have committed crimes that are more grave than theirs. Poverty. Where there is poverty, there is crime. There is an obvious connection between them. Poverty means no basic education for the kids. It has been observed that the lesser times one spends in school, the more violent one tends to become. There is a big vicious circle that is connected to poverty. No school also means a proper job, which in turn leads to the youth getting involved in criminal activities for their survival. People suffering from poverty are seen getting into criminal activities connected with drugs. Poverty can drive people to any lengths into committing any type of crime. Drugs. Use of drugs can lead to a chain of crimes that one can commit. The people who are addicted to drugs are taken over by the hallucinating effects of it that they are ready to go to any extent. It may go as far as human trafficking. The women and children are exploited by the people in sex trade so they can fulfill their desire to have drugs. Those under the influence of drugs also get into drug trafficking and indulge in serious crimes against nations. Religion and regionalism. One of the major causes of increase in crime across the globe is religion. There are a few people who indulge in orthodox religious beliefs, and it is they who usually end up in engaging in criminal activities than those who have more modern beliefs. There are many who inculcate so much hate towards other communities that they can go to any lengths to harm them. Individuals who are usually victimized by the administration and people by this classification of regions indulge in criminal activities. Racism. It is said and inhumane to discriminate people according to their caste, religion, or color, and illegal according to law as well. Racism is a huge contributor to the rise in crime in different parts of the world. The world has already advanced, yet it has a handful of people who continue to embrace beliefs which are not near to being human. Television. Although there are many valuable and entertaining things on the television, it has been observed that violence depicted on the televisions has led to several crimes, especially among the youth, who not just follow what is trending, but also follow the much shown violence. Politics. Mafias and politics are often associated closely. Political groups often use power to suppress the people who are weak, and the victims are forced to take paths that are often illegal. There is nothing more than politics that has its roots deep and spreading in crime. Chapter 2. Venezuela. Venezuela has been stated as one of the most insecure places by the United Nations. Poor economic and political conditions fuel crime. It also happens to have the highest murder rates in the world. As per the Prosecutor General's office, 98% of the crimes committed in Venezuela are not prosecuted. One of the most corrupted places where drug trafficking has infiltrated the country and dealings in drugs and Colombian cocaine are common. The rate of homicide is especially in the capital, so much that the families were advised on not informing about murder to the police. The Human Rights Watch claims that 1 out of 5 crimes is committed by the Venezuelan police, and just 3% of these corrupt policemen were charged of being guilty. The police of Venezuela are said to be unethical, inhumane, and are more probable to rob you than assist you. Venezuela also happens to be a hub for human trafficking when the women, men and kids are imperiled to sex trafficking. The State Department of the United States of America states that the Venezuelan government is unable to comply with the minimum standards to eliminate trafficking. The State Department has also blacklisted Venezuela and placed them in the Tier 3 list of countries, opening the possibilities of the country to face sanctions. The prisoners of the Venezuelan prison camp easily lay their hands on drugs, firearms and alcohol. Hundreds of people are killed in the prison each year, and the numbers seem to be increasing. 34 prisons of Venezuela hold 50,000 inmates, when the capacity of the jails is to hold just 1/3 of this number, according to the Rights Group of Venezuela. Chapter 3. San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Until early 2016, San Pedro Sula was the city that had the highest rate of murder, which was then exceeded by Caracas, Venezuela. After the military coup of 2009, when President Manuel Zelaya was sent into an exile, San Pedro Sula has seen underemployment and unemployment rise steeply. Poverty has led to many criminal activities, drug trading being the most significant of them all. About 30% of the arms in the country are illegal, and the country seems to be flooded with arms trading. In a commercial city such as San Pedro Sula, where there are so many manufacturing industries, the place should be prospering and happy. But there seems to be a completely different story here. There are hardly any police patrols, and gang wars, land disputes, political turmoil and corruption has overtaken the city, making it one of the deadliest cities of the world. This Latin American city also seems to be suffering at the hands of corrupt police officers who are open to bribes and are often involved in more grave criminal activities such as murder and extortion. What is left of the scarcely populated city also seems to be moving and migrating to other cities to have a safer life. Chapter 4. Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Another city that could be termed as toxic is Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, where female homicide takes a lead in criminal activities, closely followed by conflicts between rival gangs. Drug mafias have infested the city, and murders are reported every day. Mexico is the place that is used as a transshipment point for drugs and narcotics between Latin America and the markets of the United States. Mexico is a hub of cannabis and heroin, and drug lords seem to have their foundations laid deep in the country, and Ciudad Juarez seems to be affected most. 90% of the cocaine produced in Colombia makes its way to the US markets through Mexico. After the 26th of November, the US government made strict border rules and the export of cocaine dropped. However, this surplus cocaine is now being absorbed within the country, leading to an increase in the crime rate within the country. Also, what limited shipment manages to go past the Mexican borders are sold at high rates, making the drug lords even richer and more powerful. The Mexican government fails to provide proper jobs to the people, which have led to poverty. These people choose to work with the drug lords, as the take-home is pretty decent. There are either very rich people or people those are extremely poor. About 60% of the people living in Ciudad Juarez are engaged in illegal activities of making money. Education system is also corrupt, and the teachers speak about much political corruption and influence in the schools. There are very few children who complete their studies in Ciudad Juarez. This is also one of the reasons why people have poorly paid jobs and resort to criminal activities. Chapter 5. Chechnya, Nairobi. Places like Kisumu, Nairobi and Mombasa are the most affected, and crime rate here is at their peak. From armed robbery to terrorism, Chechnya is festered with hideous crimes. The people are terrorized, and peace is something that cannot be seen in the near future. Young men, mostly in their 20s, are submerged deep in the grasps of narcotics. There are over 40 places in Kilindini and Mombasa combined where druggists come together. More than 70% of the narcotic users inject heroin. Pang has also become common among these drug users. Terrorism in Kenya has no bounds. Some of the most dangerous group of terrorists have made Mombasa, Tanzania and Zanzibar their recruitment hub. They use the local people, bribing them with money to get their job done. However, most of the youth are forcefully made to join the groups. Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda are the militant groups that terrorize the country. Government is corrupted to its core, and on an average, a Kenyan pays about 16 bribes each month, both small and big. At the time of elections and political votes, an ethnic violence seems to sweep across the country, killing hundreds and even thousands. Armed robbery, theft, carjacking and banditry are other criminal activities that are common occurrences at Chechnya. Tourists have often been robbed by thieves using fake police IDs. Although people are not harmed while their cars are being jacked, it is done on gunpoint and the thieves don't hesitate to shoot if the owners resist. Chapter 6. Chechnya. Chechnya is the southernmost part of Europe and also known as Chechen Republic. Amongst the war between Russian and Caucasus Emirate, the Chechen people are devoid of peace. The conflict has left Chechnya devastated and most of the people have migrated to other countries. Terrorism is on boom here, and hostage-taking, mass killing, rape, beheading, kidnapping, rebel and suicide bombings are frequently in news here. The beautiful place has an intense air, and years of independence movements and conflicts have made this a frightful place to stay or visit. Prosperity isn't something that can be seen around Chechnya. The only thing that is afloat in the surroundings of the place seems to be hatred, fright and terror. Chapter 7. Mogadishu, Somalia. Cruelty and inhuman criminal activities is the foundation which the capital of Somalia has been surviving now. This African country experiences clan-based clashes, piracy, kidnapping and terrorism. More than half of the population has left this war-born place. It also happens to be one of the most lawless countries in the world. Civil war and famine has given deaths to more than 1 million people. Gunfire, loot and sound of bullets are what you hear throughout the city of Mogadishu. Violent incidents of bomb blasts, murder are nothing new. The streets are overflowing with criminals and their horrific acts of crime. Chapter 8. San Salvador, El Salvador. Tragedy has been made upon many places due to uncontrolled serious organized crime in El Salvador. This small Central American country lacks of sufficient efforts in order to understand and put a stop to it. Estimated number of freely roaming people who are committed with one of the gangs in El Salvador is 25,000. It is noticeable that this figure does not include the 9,000 people that are already put in the prison. Most known gangs are Salvatrucha and Cali 18. The Risings and Rebels 13 are new rivals of these old gangs. At least 60,000 young people are associated with these various gangs in El Salvador. In Latin America, this place holds highest murder rates. Along with Guatemala and Honduras, this place is center of gang crisis in the country. Back into the March of 2012, Salvadoran government launched program named Gang Truce, which helped to drop crimes rates around 40%. Early in that very same year, there were 16 killings per day, which dropped to a rate of few per day in April 2012. For the first time, there were no killings in the country on that day. There were total 411 killings in the month of January of that year. It dropped to 188 in March, at a rate of 40% crime reduction. Chapter 9. Acapulco, Mexico. Back into the past, Acapulco was a famous luxury location for honeymooners and Hollywood stars as well. However, it is now suffering from bloody violence caused by several criminal groups battling for control. In the year of 2012, it was the most violent city of Mexico, with each 100 people murdered out of population of 100,000. In recent year of 2015, city had a population of 800,000, with 1,170 people murdered. There were 205 homicides noticed in only first 3 months of that year. In March 2015, Acapulco had 98 of Guerrero's homicides out of 182. It is noticeable that these numbers are nothing compared to the year of 2012, which had 100 homicides a month. However, the intense violence and bloodshed remain the same. These criminal activities are always related to famous Mexican criminal organizations. Jalisco New Generation Cartel has been constantly backing up BLO in order to reassert the control of Acapulco since 2015. In order to achieve their objective, they constantly clash with local groups, including Independent Cartel of Acapulco, CIDA, as described by Associated Press. If governmental reports are to be trusted, CIDA is said to be involved in many weird, eye-catching criminal activities, which also includes the act of attacking federal police station multiple times in April. The attacks were made in return of capturing of a CIDA leader earlier. Recent political shifts are yet another reason behind increasing violence. Hector Astudillo was assigned as governor late in the October 2015. It leads to instability as several criminal groups were trying to make deals and gain influence over new governments. They simply clashed only to increase bloodshed. In early 100 days of Astudillo's government, there were 734 homicides noticed. Local governments and politicians are regularly being targeted by criminal groups regardless to their attitudes towards them. Poor neighborhoods of the city and tourist areas are now covered by violence as the cartel clashes are being intense every moment. It has already hurt tourism industry of the city. Some assassins even used jet skis to reach targets around the beach areas. Tourists or people visiting beach are now prompted to carry a bag of weapons for their protection purpose now. Even city schools are not spared with the violence and crime. In late 2014, extortion fees for each student and teachers was demanded. In 1 or 2 month period, around 21 teachers were killed. Soldiers were stationed at schools for protection. Students see these troops, even like and admire them. Some girls even started stating them their boyfriends. As per perspective of security, nothing has changed. Problem with Acapulco is that they never try to strengthen local police forces. Instead, they put army troops where crime increases. It solves the problem for short term only. Troops soon have to leave when other places violated and the crime rises again. Even their local federal police force believes that the criminal activities in Acapulco would rise unbeatably in near future. Chapter 10. Distrito Central, Honduras. Distrito Central is problem from a long period now. Mara Salvatrucha and Barrio 18 are main 2 gangs involved in criminal activities here. This place holds highest murder rate in entire world, enough for proving how dangerous this place is. United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, has stated that homicide ratio of this place is about 6.2 over a population of 100,000. Murders. Early in the 2014, murder rate of this place was 84.6 over a population of 100,000 people. Total number of murders here was 5,936 in the very same year. Piracy. This one is yet another known problem in Distrito Central. Many tourists roaming around the coast in a boat has encountered armed robberies. Some of them found murder to describe the worst situation. Robbery. It is a developing tourist location, so unfortunately, tourists are on the top of the list of robbers. Tourists' vans, minibuses and cars are often targeted by armed robbers. Their scope extends from airport areas to hotels, as well including main tourist destinations and attractions. Nothing is left. Gangs. Gang presence is rampant in Honduras, especially in major and important cities such as Distrito Central. Mara Salvatrucha and 18th Street Gang are considered most powerful among them. Violence and threat are common tools used by these members for enforcing their superiority. War taxes have to be paid by communities related with gangs forcefully, which includes local stores manned generally. People refusing to pay are constantly threatened and killed. Straight and simple. Gang culture affects youth the most. Gang culture affects youth the most. Many youngsters attempt illegal immigration to US in order to avoid their dark future lying in the shadow of gang wars and bloodshed. According to estimation, there are 82,000 people illegally residing in the United States, with 57,000 minors among them. Chapter 11. Palmyra, Colombia. According to FAM International Security, Palmyra ranks 8th on the list of most dangerous places around the globe, and certainly there are particular reasons behind this fame. In the first half of 2016, violence in the city of Palmyra encountered 46% fewer homicides compared to earlier period. Palmyra is considered most troubled region of Colombia. New implemented measures of Colombia have felt some traction in their past. In the months of January to June in 2016, there were a total of 59 homicides reported. The number seemed large to some people, however, it was comparatively less than figure of 2015, which was around 110 in Palmyra itself. Palmyra holds 8th rank with homicide rate of 70.88 of every 100,000 people. It is noticeable that neighbor city, Cali, that is much larger, ranked 10th with 64.27 ratio over same number of population. It is noticeable that violence that takes place in Palmyra is mainly resulted from fights between local criminal groups for territory. It is not or less bonded with larger criminal families. These activities are found a lot associated with micro-trafficking. In the year of 2015, local police force switched the commander as their routine rotation policy. This rotation occurred when security measures of the regions were being altered. Clash of these two processes broke down the alteration caused both of them to slow down. While commanders were taking time knowing the city, criminals were arranging new strategies and even implementing them by that time. During this period, criminal groups got a break with less pressure from police and helped the city to climb heights in global ranking of homicide. Chapter 12. Cape Town, South Africa. Talking about South Africa, Johannesburg is considered the most dangerous place to reside. However, this position is now stolen by a well-known tourist location, Cape Town. Cape Town was found to hold 50.94 homicide ratios of a population of 100,000. However, this does not include hundreds and thousands of killings take place in war zone. These rankings are enough to make Cape Town the most violent region of South Africa and also the entire continent. Gangs. Gangs are a non-spreadable part of criminal activities taking place in Cape Town. These gangs are moving into drug trafficking from near past. In fact, there are many corrupt police officers that don't mind in taking a slice from their profit. This has caused trade of drugs and heroin to increase in every single area and every single street of the famous destination. Major factor supporting the gang culture in Cape Town is unemployment. It is currently at a crazy level of 70%. It clearly indicates that poverty is crippling around the people of this well-developed tourist location. Educational levels are very low here thanks to a creepy enough level of schools and college dropouts. This city is stuffed with derailed youth, making recruitment process for gangs very easy. As a surprising fact, gangs have now started recruiting children as young as from the age of 12. They believe that children would get off lightly and they won't be sent directly to prison if local law enforcement catches them involved in any such activity. Besides that, most of the youngsters are attracted to the gang culture since it is a source of easy money. Once you have become a tattooed member, not only you earn good, but the organization promises to look after your protection. According to an estimation of Institute of Security Studies, there were 130 street and prison gangs active in Cape Town in the year of 2004, with over 100,000 active and heavily involved members. Chapter 13. Cali, Colombia. Cali is the third largest city of the country Colombia. Also, it is one of the most violent places residing in the country. Major reasons behind this violence is that it is strategically perfect location for drug trafficking. Spread of drug trafficking also attracts conflict between various cartels and local gangs in order to achieve superiority. Talking about the homicide rates, Cali authorities have proven themselves a total fail thanks to complex and resilient structure of criminal activities taking place in Cali. They were not able to lower these figures even a bit. In fact, homicide rate in central Cali city is going up and only up since the year of 2008 without any noticeable decrease. In January of 2012, Rodrigo Guerrero was assigned as mayor. Despite intense conflicts between various drug trafficking gangs of the city, it managed to lower the homicide rate a little bit in the year of 2014. Main criminal organizations. Following organizations are noticeably active in the city of Cali: La Alianza, Los Contra Alianza, Barón Rojo, Avalancha Verde, Los Warner. Most of the active gangs share neighborhood territories that are mainly located in Agua Blanca. This area is located in southwestern Cali over multiple comunas. In 2012, there were 134 active gangs in the city, of which 44% belong to this area. Displacement. Displacements are caused in Cali by constant conflicts between various gangs and cartels. Displacement ratio is constantly increasing since the year of 2000. COTES is the NGO located in Colombia monitoring displacements in the country. It derived that illegal armed groups have expulsed at a rate of 425% since 2000. Street robberies. Violence related with local gang and cartels constantly remain in the focus of local and international media. However, it rarely affects innocent residences. Civilians are mainly hurt by street crimes such as robberies, snatching, etc. Reports of local law enforcement clearly indicate that there are 20 people robbed every day in Cali. Moreover, this rate is constantly increasing. Chapter 14. Fortaleza Brazil. There are 61 homicides recorded over a population of 100,000 people every year here. Since you have been reading many violated cities until now, almost 13, this figure may be sounding very less to you guys. Unfortunately, it isn't. It is noticeable that this is also the capital city of the state Ceará. Also, it is a famous tourist destination thanks to white, pristine and sprawling beaches. If you have reached this far in the list, you may have very well realized that most of the criminal targets are famous tourist locations. It is considered metropolitan city of the state and the country as well. It is home to more than 2.5 million Brazilians. Unfortunately, with infrastructure, city of Fortaleza have also developed criminal empires. To describe the situation clearly, it is quite enough to state that it is the part of list containing 50 most dangerous places around the world, according to year 2015. The situations are quite understandable. Consider that Fortaleza is at number 50 in that list. Even then, there are only 49 places ahead it in entire globe. Ratio of violence and murders are constantly high due to well-spread drug trade. Various gangs are active in the cocaine and other drug trades. In the year of 2015, the homicide ratio was 66.5 over every population of 100,000. This report was made by CCSP-JP, standing for Citizens Council for Public Security and Criminal Justice. This agency operates from Mexico. There are multiple reasons behind the rising criminal activities in the city. Police response is quite slow, since many policemen are corrupt and enjoying the commissions paid by various gangs as protection or ignorance from law enforcement. It is seen that this also includes some high-ranking law enforcement officers. Chapter 15. Natal Brazil. Natal is home to elevated violent and non-violent crimes. This place possesses high rate of murder and robberies that are categorized as non-violent crimes. According to estimation of World Health Organization, Natal possessed homicide rate of 30 to 35 over a population of 100,000 residences. This ratio is high enough to place the city in the list of places having highest crime rate around the globe. It is traced by local law enforcement that alcoholism and drug trade are the most threatening and intense crime in the city. Cocaine is imported in the country at high level, and city of Natal is too a part of international drug routes. Natal is also center of arms and marijuana producing, mostly used by local criminals. Robberies. In major areas of Natal, carjacking is common. Both local people and visitors are on target of robbers and snatchers. Public festivals such as Carnival are favorite target of these people. Nothing is spared from pickpocketers and snatchers, not even open markets, hotels and even public transport. Kidnapping. Express kidnapping are most known forms of kidnapping in Natal. People are threatened to withdraw funds from ATMs to secure their release. Corruption. Country of Brazil was at 38th position in corruption index. Certainly being one of the major cities of the country, Natal too has significant contribution in this negative achievement. Despite of being a serious criminal activity and justice issue, it is undividable part of Brazilian politics. Domestic violence. Every other day in Natal, 10 to 15 women are murdered due to domestic violence, broken marriages, broken relations, etc. Total number of women murdered from 1997 to 2007 was 41,503 in overall country, and Natal too had noticeable contribution for heightening this figure. It is also noticeable that back into the year of 2012, 8% of total homicides in the city targeted women as victims. Chapter 16. St. Louis, Missouri, U.S. Criminal activities are heavily spread both in main St. Louis City and metropolitan areas of the city. Criminal activities have been constantly growing from 1960s to 2000s. However, there was quite a decrease in crime rates of the place. Despite of these decreased rates, intense violent criminal activities and activities of property crime are still higher. As a certain proof, the city of St. Louis is constantly ranking in top criminal places and dangerous places of United States. In the year of 2011, there were total 113 homicides recorded by local law enforcement department in the city. It produced homicide rate of 35.3 over every 100,000 residents. However, this ratio was decreased about 21% compared to the figures of year 2010. There were 31,619 index crimes noticed, about 5.7% less than previous year. Ratio for this figure was 9,866.9 per 100,000 populations. Developing structure of law enforcement. Law enforcement for this city is provided by multiple municipal police departments, county police departments, and federal agencies as well. Police services are provided by St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Courtroom protection services are provided by Sheriff's Department of City. They also serve eviction notices and services for transporting prisoners between courts and jails within the city. There are total 67 police departments in entire St. Louis County. These departments provide police services for localities and also maintain a sheriff's office in order to achieve courtroom services and deliver civil actions. The Missouri State Highway Patrol serves troop in order to maintain law in the region with its headquarters in neighboring Charles County. There is also an FBI field in the city of St. Louis. Kansas City Field Division handle the group supervisor officers with following departments: Bureau of Alcohol, Bureau of Tobacco, Bureau of Firearms, Bureau of Explosives. Chapter 17. Detroit, Michigan, U.S. Despite of being listed in most dangerous cities around the U.S. and the entire globe, criminal ratio of Detroit has significantly decreased in many categories of crime since late 70s. 2016 was the year in which Detroit achieved the lowest criminal rate in past 40 years. However, just 1 year passed into the year of 2015, Detroit was second in the list of cities having highest murder rates in U.S. Presently, murder ratio of Detroit is 43.5 over every population of 100,000 residents, still on the second rank after the city of St. Louis in the United States. Various forms of crime are spread throughout the city of Detroit. However, the ratio according to areas is very uneven and hard to determine accurately. However, local law enforcement stated that Upper East and Central West area of the city is most dangerous to roam around with most occurrences of violent and intense criminal activities. Following are some figures indicating total number of murders in Detroit grouped by various years. 2013, 316. 2014, 298. 2015, 295. One may simply believe that criminal ratio is decreasing. However, these figures are not strongly bonded with the criminal activity ratio. In this same period of time, total number of murders was constantly rising and reached 571 by now, still counting. A clear indication is that crime is not really decreasing in the city and in surrounding areas as well. Armed crimes. It is noticeable that most of the murders indicated above are committed with guns. It simply makes the criminal ratio of Detroit City more dangerous than it actually appears. Figures show that between the year of 2008 and 2013, 82% of total murders were committed with firearms. This statement alone is quite enough to show how controls-less criminals are in the city of Detroit and in surrounding areas and neighborhoods.